Hello everybody, Heather the Bard here, and this week I want to talk about how to read tablature. Most of you are probably pretty familiar with your standard music staff. This one is called the treble clef staff, and you've probably seen standard notation before. But there's a new trend. Of course, it's not exactly a new trend, but it is a trend to start also including tablature, which is usually donated by this tab line down here, in music books, especially for instruments like guitar and the ukulele. This is from one of my Tony Mizzen books because I just had it handy. But this is pretty common. So first of all, how do you read it? Well, the nice thing is that tab is just a map of your fingerboard. Initially and historically, because they found tablature clear back dating to the Renaissance period, it was very common for lute players to transcribe pieces using tablature, not traditional notation. And it's handy because it basically shows you your fingerboard. So how do you read it? Well, if you'll notice, instead of notes, we have numbers. And what that means is that when you see a number, first of all, when you look at tab, you're looking at it as if you are looking at your instrument like this. So your top line is going to be this string, probably your A string if your uke is tuned standard, and your bottom line is going to be your G string. Now, when you look at this, we have numbers, and what that means, it's really pretty simple, is that if your fingerboard starts here, then you immediately start counting. There's your first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, fifth fret, and so on. And so when you look at tab, you just read which strings, because it tells you, and then you put your fingers on the ones that have the number next to them where you would put them. So if I see this, and this tells me, let me get that a little closer, I have 0 means you just pluck the open string, and then it shows that I put my fret 4 on those bottom strings, bottom being as I'm looking at my uke, so they're down here, then that would look something like this. And that's kind of how you begin to read tab, is it tells you exactly what fret you need to put your fingers on. Now, the reason why a lot of tab is included with standard notation is because tab has its limitations. One of them being that it won't tell you how long a note needs to be held if there's a dotted rhythm or any other tempo markings that way. That is where it is great paired with traditional notation, because this will immediately tell you, okay, I need to hold this note, and then we have a dotted rhythm here. Now this particular type of tab kind of gets around that a little bit, because you'll see like this one has a little flag on it, just like the 8th note up here, and so that kind of gives you a sense of where the rhythm is. But if you want a little more nuance, it's great that they are pairing it with standard notation, because that'll give you a little more to go on. Some tabs, some of the ones, especially ones that people have written up and put on the internet themselves, sometimes they don't have that. All they do is they just have the notes, and you're kind of expected to figure out the song on your own by listening to it, or sometimes they will have this and that'll give you another clue as to how it's supposed to sound. But for getting started with tab is pretty nice that way, because it is just a map of your fingerboard. And so then you would go through and you would figure out where to put your fingers and do it that way. Now, in some circles, there's kind of this sense that tab is cheating in reading music. I think if it helps you learn to read music, if it helps you learn to play and make music, go for it. Especially given the fact that the people who usually say, oh, that's cheating, they don't understand that tab has actually been around for quite a long time. I mean, the Renaissance was mid-1400s to roughly 1601, 1603, and this is basically what they used for lute players to learn how to play with. So it's been around a very, very long time. It kind of fell out of vogue there for a while, but now it's kind of coming back in. And it's wonderful because it helps clear up some of this stuff. Sometimes it can be really hard to figure out, especially if you're trying to figure out your own fingerings for a piece of music that doesn't have this. It can be kind of a challenge. It can be done, but a lot of times you'll see classical guitarists will jot fingering notations down above the notes so that they can remember where those notes are on their fingerboard. Having the tab kind of takes that step out of it, makes it a lot faster and a little bit easier that way to learn a piece of music. The other downside to tab is that it doesn't tell you which finger you need to be using. And that is where it is very helpful to have a basic understanding of chords, because by learning chords, you kind of get a sense of which fingers need to be where to make certain note combinations. And that helps a lot when reading tab to get started in fingerstyle playing, whether you're playing classical or folk music or something else. If you're playing fingerstyle, having a basic knowledge of chords and a basic familiarity with how chord shapes are situated for ease of playing will help a lot when you're learning to read tab, because by then you can kind of look at some of these numbers and go, okay, I need to have my hand like this, and then for this other thing I need to switch it around so it's a little more, and it'll help you a lot in making this smooth. As always though, I recommend listen to your body. If you find yourself stretching too much, straining too much, things just don't feel comfortable, try it a different way. And just keep trying different ways to do fingerings until you find something that works for you, that feels comfortable to play. Above all, you want to be comfortable when you play. A little bit of, especially if you're new to playing the ukulele, a little bit of soreness is to be expected because you're using muscles maybe you're not used to using. But if you've been playing for a while and you're just now getting into playing fingerstyle ukulele, try it. Try the different fingerings, different directions. Try using different fingers, seeing what flows easier, what is easier, more comfortable, more smooth to play, and that'll help you a lot. So my name's Heather the Bard. That was a quick introduction to tablature notation. If you have questions, drop them below in the comments. Feel free to check out my Facebook group, the Bard's Ukulele Study Group. And other than that, happy playing.